Hi Ben, lovely to meet up with you at the studio. It's been a long time since we last met, obviously, but lovely to meet up, catch up, and do some work on your game. Quite a productive session. The main positive for me was your improved understanding of how to change the look of your swing. I thought these two images that I've started off with here sum the session up nicely. You knew where you wanted to be, which was more like you see on the right, more tucked underneath. So the idea of sort of tucking the hips underneath more, stretching the spine off more, pushing up out the ground more throughout the hips. So you sort of knew what you wanted to look like. You didn't really know how to go about trying to achieve that, and you tried various means over the past number of months. But we can see on the left that we've still got a lot of flex in the ankle, the knees, the hips don't really, or the pelvis doesn't really extend enough, and the spine flexes forward, etc., etc. So a nice starting point was to just look at the two extremes. The one on the left is where we started the session, first swing of the day, where there's a lot of flexion in the through swing, and the one on the right is you maxing out the extension via the drill that we used to isolate the key aspects of the through swing. And that was the key, really, was figuring out how to, what is it that creates that look that you see on the right, where the hips are tucked under more, where the spine stretched out more. Previously, your understanding of it, or the way it had been pitched to you, was that it was improved hip slide or linear movement. As per the image I sent across to you, most people's idea of linear movement is based purely around the hip slide, whereas actually it involves three key moves. The hips have got to continuously turn. They are sliding, and at some points during the downswing, the hip slide will add to that linear look. But they must also extend, come out of their forward tilt, so the pelvis is coming out of its forward tilt, the level of the belt is raising, and later on in the through swing, that is what gives you that linear look that you're after. So through the hit on the left, we're turning, we're sliding, we're getting back into flexion. As we come through, we're still sliding, we're starting to extend a little bit, we're turning, and now everything just sort of stops. The turn kicks in, and then it's only late that we start to push up out of the ground. We see that right leg straighten a little bit, left leg straighten a little bit, but at that point in the swing, the head's drifting forward. We never really get that tucked under look. And more importantly, the change that we want to make is at P9, when the right arm is parallel to the ground in the through swing. So the main thing we did was go through this exercise where we isolate the key pieces of that through swing. So what does the through swing that we want, so that P9 position that we desire, what does it involve? Well, first of all, it involves a full extension. So that's you stretching out, getting rid of the angles in the ankles, the knees, the pelvis, and the spine, as well as the neck. Whilst you do that, you keep the arms on the rib cage. At P9, we should also have the hip slide maxing out. So you can see there you're putting the hip slide in. And we should have also rotated fully towards the target. So there's a full rotation. So at P9, we'd have the arms straight, attached to the torso. We'd have a full extension, full rotation, and a full hip slide. And you can see that if you put each piece in systematically, fully extend, fully slide, fully rotate, you start to create the desired look. Then we've got to, once we understand that, we can start to practice more productively. We can see that we can start to accept that the swing on the left lacks some extension. That was a big understanding for you, a big change in your understanding or your perception of what you need to add to your goal swing. And then you can use that drill when you're away from the golf course to familiarise yourself and your understandings. The more you can isolate things, the more clear your understanding will become. When you're at the range hitting balls, nice drill is to eliminate the backswing. Try and keep looking at, as you come through, the reason the shaft's here is I want you to be looking at the golf ball with your eyes angled over slightly at P9. So when you're doing the drill, we've eliminated the backswing. The only source of power we have now are the angles in the ankles, the knees, the pelvis, the spine. So we're going to have to get rid of those angles at speed to generate any power. And you can see as you do that, you start to push up out the ground more effectively. You start to stretch the spine off in a more considerable manner. So the angles that we're now creating through the hip, rather than having sort of quite a bit of flexion in there, we're starting to straighten things out, pushing up out the ground with the legs, bringing the hips out the forward tilt, getting rid of the flexion in the pelvis, stretching out the spine. There's also difference in the neck tilts. You can see that as the hips come out of the forward bend, or the pelvis comes out of its forward bend, what we can also see is that the ability for the body or for the pelvis to rotate has improved. You can see the belt buckle pointing directly at the target as opposed to on an angle to the target. So the pelvis coming out of its forward tilt is important in order to both extend and also keep the hips rotating through the hip, which starts to control the rate of closure on the club face. So eliminate the backswing, try and hit the ball as far as you can, which isn't very far at all, looking at it with the eyes angled over at P9 rather than straight level to the ground, if you will. We also looked at your swing in regards to the drill that we did. I'm just going to match these two up. So we started talking about the extension. So the tucking of the hips, there's your extension. And when you isolate it, it's pretty easy to see. The hips are forward, bent forward, 26 degrees at setup. Then as we go through the hip, they come out of the forward bend and extend to a position that is more, shall we say, zero now. In 3D world where we got more accurate equipment, that may be a different angle, but for the sake of this analysis, we're going to say we're 26 forward at setup, and then we are going to zero through the hip. When we look at it from face on, there's the same move that we're looking at from down the line. Hips are coming out the forward bend. Then we put the hip slide in, and then we put the rotation in. We're looking at this move rotated through 90 degrees. So there's your extension. Very, very similar look as you come through. The only difference between the two images that we see there is obviously the camera angle and the fact that on the right you've slid the hips and you've rotated the body, but you can see the extension. The hips have come out of the forward bend that they had at address. So there's your hip position, or the position of the pelvis at setup, versus P9. Going from a forward bend into extension, as does the spine, as does the neck. Now as you do that, your hips are clearly moving in a linear manner. So the tailbone is tucked under considerably more than it would normally be, as per the images that are sent across to you shortly after your session. So improving your ability to extend, to tuck the hips under, and in turn to add to that linear movement. There's a number of ways you can do that. You can start off by hitting the ball well back in the grid. So put some balls opposite the inside of your right heel. Try and hit the ball as high as you can from that position. With the ball so far back, the only way you can create any trajectory on it is by learning to push up out of the ground quicker So that's giving you the feel of pushing up with the legs, as per the images I posted on Facebook of Tom Dolan that you liked. The other way of doing it is to hit hard and stop quick, eliminating the use of the arms in the downswing as a source of power, or curtailing the use of the arms in the downswing as a source of power. Means that you have to use the ground more effectively to hit the ball the distance you want to. So hitting hard, stopping quick can add to that feeling of extending properly. And then the drill where we isolate it, really isolate it away from the range, as per the images that are on the screen here at the moment, is a great one for you. And then the final one, which I would spend a lot of time doing, to be fair, when you do go to the range or be hitting in the nets at the club, eliminate the backswing, try and hit the ball as far as you can, learn to use the ground effectively, extending the spine, tucking the hips, etc. Good luck with it. Look forward to watching this one progress. If you get any questions, feel free to drop me a line or give me a call, and look forward to future sessions. Well done.